Hey, Spartan fans, welcome into this latest edition of the Michigan State Spartans Insider Podcast. I'm your beat reporter for Michigan State Spartans. On SI, Aidan Champion. Spartans wrapped up Scrimmage 2 of fall camp on Saturday. Now the focus kind of shifts to first game, August 29th, Western Michigan, and kind of transitioning out of that fall camp phase into game preparation. And there's a lot to discuss with that second scrimmage. It's from what it sounds like there were some strides made. Um, Still not getting a whole lot of clarity in terms of where certain starting jobs are at. There's still some competition, and Jonathan Smith he loves that. They welcome that. Obviously, it's not a problem to have jobs up for grabs. It sounds like they've got multiple guys who could be starters as opposed to guys who haven't stepped up yet and taken that job. But on the injury front, Nakai Martinez, corner or safety, excuse me. He Jonathan Smith said that he may not be able to go week one. We talked about this yesterday. That would be a big hit, but don't know yet, and don't know the injury. If it is a situation where it really is something that's bugging him, maybe it would be best to keep him out week one and save him rather than jeopardizing his 2025 season, get him some extra rest. But Jack Valling, tight end, back in practice. And so it sounds like, for the most part, Jonathan Smith said that they're relatively healthy. And that's a very good thing going into the season, especially when Michigan State, suffered so many injuries early on last year. If you can go into week one healthy and maintain that only helps you, and your chances of having the season that you want. I want to talk about the run game. That was something Jonathan Smith had talked about yesterday, Monday, when he spoke to the media and talked about how that was improved, even more so in the scrimmage on Saturday. Mentioned Mekhi Frazier, Brandon Tullis, the two running backs, sophomore running backs that are competing for that starting job. Mekhi had a couple touchdown catches, and then Tullis ran one in, so that's promising when looking at that position battle. That's one that probably stands out above most. Those two are don't have a whole lot of experience. Each only had 7 carries last season, but it sounds like they're really taking a stride. And Jonathan Smith said they have both taken a step forward, and so that's a battle we're still looking at. As far as other things that occurred in the scrimmage, Sam Edwards, veteran linebacker, just named a captain. He had a interception in the red zone. Speaking of the red zone, Jonathan Smith said the offensive execution in the red zone was way better, is what he said, in scrimmage 2, and that's got to be very encouraging for fans, considering that was a major weakness for this team last season, was struggles in the red zone executing offensively. And so it sounds like they're moving forward in that department. We'll see if that's something that is improved this season. Another occurrence, Brady Pretzloff, a young linebacker who, this staff has had good things to say about this preseason camp. He had a couple tackles for loss on Saturday. So, it sounds like he's really improving and could be a guy who could be called upon when you're looking at the depth of this linebacker room, because there is a lot of it. The guys who I think are most likely to start, obviously, Jordan Hall, Wayne Matthews, and Darius Snow, all veterans, but then behind them you got some youth, some guys who are ready to take that next step, and it sounds like Pretzloff is one of them. And then Rodney Bullard, he had a touchdown. He was one of those several wide receivers who came over through the transfer portal this offseason, one who maybe isn't getting talked about enough, being overshadowed by Omari Kelly and Krishan McCray, but he's definitely one to watch out for. Comes from Valdosta State, was in the to national title game last season where they lost to Fair State, but definitely need to be keeping an eye out for Rodney Bullard. I think he could be really good for this team this year. He's in the battle in the running for that wide receiver three spot. Um, and then as far as penalties, Jonathan Smith's been pleased with the discipline through those first two scrimmages. That was a big issue, particularly early on last season. Um, it improved throughout, but that was something that definitely plagued this team early on. And that's something, not too surprising when you talk about the early going. You're getting some rust out. You're learning along the way about what you can get away with and whatnot, what you can't. But discipline is obviously that's something that develops and something you're going to see a little more of a lack of early on. But if they can eliminate that early, get bad habits out of the way now, sooner rather than later, they'll be much better off for it. So that's a good thing um, in terms of where they are at with discipline, avoiding penalties right now, and just going back to position battles, running back or excuse me, offensive line. That's one that we're looking at closely. Jonathan Smith said they had 8 to 9 guys that were running with the ones and twos on Saturday. So it sounds like there's still a lot to be determined there with the starters and that. Um, he said that today they were going to be sitting down and discussing where things are at with that room and with the starters, the depth chart. But also he said today they'd be sitting down with all the corners, talking to them about where they're at. That's another position battle we're looking at very closely. That's one that could go a few different ways. So monitoring that one. But yeah, those were the things that really stood out the most to me. I think the fans should feel very encouraged about where the run game is at because it sounds like it's been in a good place the first two scrimmages um and there's a good battle going on there. And Jonathan Smith said you know, they are gonna they do want multiple guys taking reps, and that's something we've known that he likes to do with his team. And it's going to be probably kind of a running back by committee approach. That's why I've said this. One of the reasons I've said this running back battle doesn't matter too much because whoever wins, I mean, it's going to be multiple guys running back there. Um, and sounds like Mekhi Frazier and Brandon Tullis really standing out, and they've made a stride this off season from uh, building upon their first year. So, yeah, we're getting closer and closer to week one. It's less than 2 weeks out. Spartans are not on the field today or tomorrow. We'll be back at it Thursday, and I know it will be time to really ramp it up, get going, and prepare for that home opener against Western Michigan. So, with all that said, thank you as always, everyone, for tuning in. I hope you're getting excited as this week one approaches. Won't be long at all now uh, before the Spartans host the Broncos for that home opener, Friday Night Lights, a week from Friday, August 29th. So, as always, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate your engagement, and we will talk to you next time. Thank you, everybody.